Hello, this is Ace. I think Ghouls and Ghosts went quite well. I got through the game in sort of a reasonable amount of time, all things considered, considering it was my first playthrough back in a very long time. I really do want to keep up some practice and just sort of get into some sort of groove again. This is a game I wanted to cover for quite some time. It is where I get my internet namesake from, at least the second half of my name, Sparkster. And I figured I might as well cover the last retro Sparkster games. I have already played through the other two games on this channel, at least quite a while back. Join me and let's play some Sparkster. Konami. In ages past, this was a sign of a particularly good video game. Nowadays it's a sign of particularly good gambling, I assume? I don't know. Konami's fallen on hard times, which is such a shame because back in the day you got some really spectacular games, such as this one. Now I could be describing the plot right now, but it's a Rocket Knight game. Princess gets kidnapped, you go fight wolf/pig/lizard empire and get the princess back. Yeah, they're not really known for their plots. On the other hand, gameplay-wise, they are stellar. If you're wondering why I'm going with such an unusual button for shoot, I've kind of had to hodgepodge the controls a bit, which I'll explain a bit more later on. Now, this is Sparkster for the Super Nintendo. It has an identical name almost to the Mega Drive game called Sparkster. That game has a in-game subtitle called Rocket Knight Adventures 2. This is just Sparkster for the Super Nintendo. They are both, however, radically different games. The only things they share is a name, a protagonist, and a soundtrack. Other than that, they couldn't be more different. Both games, however, have much larger levels in terms of how wide open they are compared to Rocket Knight Adventures. And I'd say the level design in this game is a lot less polished, but it's no less fun. This game plays a lot like the original Rocket Knight Adventures game. You have a rocket pack you charge up manually, a la the charge shot from Mega Man. You just hold down shoot and you charge up your rocket. As soon as your rocket is charged, you can go flying in any direction you like. However, you are put into a helpless state after doing so. That's that little state there, where in Rocket Knight Adventures, you couldn't do anything. In this game, however, you have access to the Flaming Sword, which lets you break out of the state, but do this sword too many times, as I'll just demonstrate, you are helpless. You also have access to Sparkster's sword, which really doesn't do all that much damage, but can be helpful against certain enemies and bosses. However, the rocket is going to be your main method of attack against bosses. It does more damage, like 2 or 3, depending on the boss. Really, I think the biggest detriment this game has is it's hard to kind of see where you're going sometimes. Thanks. Case in point. Because the levels are just so wide open. Still, you get used to it. And like all retro Konami games, or at least it seems like all retro Konami games, this game has a lot of boss fights. There's at least 2 per level, sometimes more. And we just encountered the first mid-boss, who fell kind of easily. He was the first boss encounter in the game, so that's to be expected. What's not to be expected, however, I think the first main boss is, however, I would say significantly harder. In fact, it's going to be the hardest boss we come across for a couple of stages, at least. I am playing this on hard mode, and the main thing hard mode has going for it is that bosses tend to get something slightly different to them. And the change in Stage 1's boss is fairly significant, so I'll say what that is when we get there. In the meantime, I need to not run into every single bloody enemy I come across. You're going to take just copious amounts of random damage in this game. As I said, the stage design really isn't all that polished. You feel like you're going across 500 miles an hour, and I'm sure you can really learn the stage layouts to such an extent where that isn't the case, but despite all the years I've played this game, I never did. I think Mega Drive game does a better job in that regard. Still, this game I think has way more charm. There's a lot more minute details, and that just sort of gives the entire game a lot of life. Such as enemies popping out of pipes, wearing different clothing per level, being giant robots, so the first boss. Here's the first boss, in case the boss music didn't clue you in. This guy is a brat. On most difficulties, he will not utilise the laser beam all that often. On hard mode, he does. In fact, on hard mode, he spams it. You need to be sort of... your timing needs to be pretty good. He has, like, hardly any health, as you can see there. But if you screw up if you deviate, like, even slightly, that thing will slaughter you. Like it almost did. Messed up once, got sort of comboed into oblivion. On normal difficulty, he hardly uses the laser beam. On hard mode, it just goes, lol, laser beam, laser beam, laser beam, laser beam. And occasionally the game will just do that, so at least that's going to be the hardest boss we come across for a while. This stage, the Ironworks, is a good example of just how wide open the stage layouts are. You wouldn't see a stage like this in the original Rocket Knight game. There's lots of paths, lots of just things to bounce around, lots of enemies to just casually run into. It's all rather cool, and if you played this game back in the day when SNES was the emulator of choice, this was probably about as far as you got into Sparkster, because it just wasn't compatible. Does anyone remember? This game just wasn't compatible with SNES. Because you would be seeing the fog, like, opaque, as it were, which isn't very good, considering it covers the entire level. Still, it's nice to get emulators that are a lot more accurate nowadays. Or you could just play on the actual console like I did. Which, obviously, I'm not doing right now, but... yeah. This stage is full of quite a few instant death hazards. If you notice the cylinders, those are instant death. Oh gosh, that nearly killed me. I went the wrong direction. Yeah, these cylinders, instant death. If you get crushed between them, instant death. There are crushers, which I think show up like once. Those are instant death too. The game does like its instant death hazards every so often, but it's fairly lenient in just how few there are. Also, don't blink. Did you blink? That was a mid-boss. If that thing has attacks, I honestly do not remember what the heck they are. This game is full of random little weirdness, just Konami quirks, such as the 1-up system here. I found a 1-up. I could just pick this up and get an extra life, which you do want to stockpile lives if you at all can. On the other hand, you can hit it, in which case you get a little roulette, and I lost. I lost big time. Rather than getting any lives or health or anything, I got a crystal, which are basically the equivalent of Mario's coins. Get 100, get an extra life. That's basically all they do. Still, you do want to pick these up because 1-ups are useful. You really do want to stockpile lives in this game, because you do have limited continues, which is fun, and by the tail end of the game, you will be using them up. Still, we are already at the Stage 2 boss. Now, depending on what this guy does, he's gonna either fall really quickly or just take a little long. He does take like 5 hours to get on screen though. So, he's picked up the whirling mace. That's good. That is pretty much what you want him to pick up, because it really isn't much of a threat. On the other hand, that rocket launcher he's just picked up, that is a threat. As you can see, rockets! Nice demonstration, boss. Thank you very much. It becomes a game of rocket spam. Depending on what this guy picks up, is either one of the easiest fights in the game, or a real hassle. Thankfully, it is kind of easy, even though I got hit quite a bit. You will just take casual damage a lot in this game. Sometimes there's not a whole lot you can do about it. It's weird. As I said, this game does not feel gameplay-wise as polished as Rocket Knight Adventures or the other Sparkster game. But if it wasn't for one portion of the game late into it, I think I'd prefer this game over the Mega Drive one. As it stands, it is fighting for second place, which is just how poor one segment of the game is later on, which I'm not looking forward to. Still, what this game does have going forward is it has honestly a really fun auto-scroller. Meet Stampy Do. Stampy Do is part of what the Rocket Knight series likes to do, which just gives Sparkster control of giant robots, or small robots in this case. And I just like how much control you have over this auto-scroller. So I think this is more fun than the auto-scroller level, robot level in the other Sparkster game is, because it's not so slow. It's just manic and super quick compared to that game. You can control Stampy whilst you're riding him. You can either fire projectiles, but you can jump out to use a rocket pack, which is useful to go the upper route. There's two routes in this level. I would almost always go the upper route because it is shorter and I think has more health pickups. Meet the third mid-boss. As soon as you hit him once, you can sort of lock him into a hit stun, and he will stop attacking you. So, you know, kind of an easy fight there. And here's some health. This game really is quite generous in health pickups, which I think is what really does balance out the fact you just take a lot of casual damage in this game. Stampy, you can make him stand up via holding up. You can also make him crouch by holding down. And you can fire projectiles out of Stampy or yourself if you jump out of the cockpit. That is what you want to be doing here, as you take on these, whatever the hell these things are. We are fast approaching the third boss. Unlike the other two bosses, this one you kind of want to be a lot more methodical about. Now, you could, if you so wish, take out each portion of this boss, like, almost simultaneously, which is certainly the quickest way of going about it. And certainly you can do that on lower difficulties. On the other hand, the more of these things you have bouncing around, the more damage you take, the quicker you die. So, I like to be methodical in this fight. Take down one or two at a time. Immediately try and take them out. We're using Stampy here. Because just bear in mind, you do just tend to take hits, like, casually for no particular reason in this game. Which isn't really the fault, which isn't... As I said, health pickups are frequent enough, it's not really too big an issue. Okay, this one's being a little dodgy than usual. Fire please, thank you. Once I knock up two more of these, this thing will hit phase 2, in which case I've essentially won. Hey, do you know what you should never do in Let's Plays? Make statements like this. I am doing it slightly worse in this fight. However, we've hit stage 2. Just crouch in the corner and does help if I release the rocket. Crouch. Oof. I think I spoke way too soon there. Oh. Do you know what's really stupid? This boss gave me 0 issues in the practice runs. 0. Whereas the first boss did. And here I am, taking damage from this thing. And dying to this thing. Yikes. But that's kind of the curse of live playthroughs. You always do so much worse when actually recording against inexplicable things. Such as this boss, which normally goes really easily. And now I'm kind of just dying to it. So, that's fun. Hopefully I can get it this time. Hit it a couple of times. Shoot, please. You would shoot the apple, wouldn't you? The boss can sometimes shoot apples, incidentally. Right. Normally I use the rocket, but I think I might just rely on the sword here. Which is going to take a little longer, but if it's going to be tricksy with just me hitting the lower portions, now maybe I should just play it a little safer. Probably doesn't take all that much longer. Ah, okay, that's what kept happening. I was rebounding back and hitting them as they fell down. Good to know. That doesn't normally happen. I think all the more reason, because I'm recording live, Sod's Law is a thing in Let's Plays, so let's just play this safe. Hey! Got the apple. Nice. We've hit stage 2. Right. Now, you should, in theory, win automatically from this point, because if you crouch in the curb... I should just shut up. Wow, okay, this... He has never hit me in the corner before. And he hit me in the corner. Well, aren't you full of surprises, Mr. Centipede? I couldn't have made that up if I tried. That's the first time that thing's ever hit me in the corner. Bloody hell. Deary me, deary me. So, lesson learned. Shut up. So, speaking of shutting up, here's the stage 4 mid-boss, who we've encountered very quickly. I would say stay in the left corner here and he can't hit you, but I was immediately proved wrong with the stage 3 boss. So maybe I do not say that. Whoa, what? Cool. I think I was accidentally catching the joystick there. Let's take this a bit slower. He says. I could have gone then, I really could have done. This section likes to show you just what to do to avoid the laser beams here. Which is a really cute detail. That's what I like about this game. It's got so many cute little details. It's just utterly charming. I don't really care about taking damage there. There's a nice health pickup there. let's just avoid these poor sleepy doggies. Let's try and avoid the geyser there. I nearly said geisha. That's the Japanese consort woman, which is a little different from a geyser. That just reminds me of a time when I was playing Dungeons and Dragons and DMing, and I mispronounced the word the geisha. I played geisha rather than geyser, much to the amusement of everyone playing, and then I just went, you know, sod it, yes, you encounter a giant geisha, you know, and they had a surprise encounter with a giant geisha, Japanese woman, despite taking place in like a medieval Europe fantasy setting. So yeah, don't mock the DM, is what I'm saying. Here I'm getting chased by water, and I think I've screwed up. Yep. Jeez. So, I wanted to stockpile lives. I have now died to this instant death segment 3 times in a row. Despite the fact, again, this gave me no troubles during practice. Absolutely no trouble whatsoever. Gosh, that was close. Why? That's the thing about playthroughs. I know sometimes people get on to live recorders when they play through games casually. But there is such a thing as a sod's law. Sometimes your concentration is just split just enough that... Thanks, Sparkster. Took you long enough. That otherwise, segments that aren't really too hard can just kick your ass out of nowhere. But yeah, just sod's law. So, I'm expecting this boss to go horribly wrong. Everything else about Stage 4 has gone horribly wrong so far. Apparently, yes, is the answer to that. Turn back, Sparkster. Turn, Sparkster. What? Okay. Huh. That's interesting. Let's chalk up something I didn't know about the game yet again. Being on an edge and triggering the falling off animation. Turn Sparkster around. I did not know that was a thing. How am I learning so much about this freaking game today? This is the Stage 4 boss. He may look familiar. That was way too early. Try again, Ace. This is a bit of a slugfest. If you can avoid the arms, he will just happily walk to the left and walk over you. And if you can avoid the arms, you're golden. And if you can get him to stage 2, phase 2, you're golden. But you can kill him before then, like there. If you kill him before phase 2, that's fine, but as soon as he hits phase 2, it's pretty much dead. All he will do is the really easy to avoid laser attack at that point. Where you just have to sort of duck underneath it and stay close to him, so... Not too hard. It can go horribly wrong if he doesn't cooperate, which it cooperated, so... Sod's law. It sometimes balances out. During playthrough. Sometimes you'll get extremely lucky. I think I got really lucky during that boss fight. But my playability was just slightly off for the other parts of Stage 4. So, I think that's the fun of live playthroughs, because you just get to see the games pretty much how they were intended. I've lost a lot of lives though, so that's kind of worrying. I really want as many lives as possible prior to Stage 6. Because Stage 6 has what I'd like to call a run killer, which is the next portion, which is going to be the next part of the LP. So I ain't looking forward to that. On the other hand, the rest of these stages are really cool. I do love this game, and it's been fun to find a way to play it again. Okay, so this is kind of a post-recording thing. Turns out I completely forgot to explain the control setup at any point in the Let's Play, which, you know, considering just how fast a pace this game has, I didn't really get time for it. So anyway, how I'm currently controlling it, to try and limit the having to hold buttons down so much. Basically, 4 buttons are currently mapped to shoot. One of them's rapid fire, one of them's a toggle, and the 2 trigger buttons on the controller sort of acts normally. Did run into a couple of issues whilst playing the game with the triggers. I think it's just sometimes not resetting correctly, and that's why I got sort of stuck during the first boss fight, and I need to go fix that, I think, for the next portion. So, there you go. I have absolutely no ETA on any future videos, simply because I'm currently having a bit of a weird health issue that's cropped up, and I can only go with how much energy I've got at any given time. I seem to have developed a form of dysphagia, which is the difficulty in swallowing and swallowing food. So my energy levels are kind of limited because my food intake is also kind of limited. So just one more fun thing to deal with. I'm trying to get on with it as best I can. I'll catch you later at some point, whenever that is. Ciao.